Hey YouTube. So today I wanted to talk about schizoaffective disorder and schizophrenia. I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube about this issue. I have been researching a lot, and I want to give a great shout out to fucking everyone on YouTube because I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot, and I've gained insight into my own self. Insight's very important to this whole thing. Anyway, I digress. I was diagnosed in 2014 as first bipolar with psychotic symptoms and then to schizoaffective, which is schizophrenia and bipolar disorder clashed together. Um, I've been able to somewhat function. I'm employed, luckily. I take my medications. I actually just had my first 5150 voluntary, by the way. My first 5150 hospital stay about 2 weeks ago, and that helped me a lot. That cleared a lot of emotional red tape, and a lot of issues are now being recovered. Yeah. So, I wanted to sum up basically everything I've learned between the lectures, between the vlogs of other schizophrenics and schizoaffectives, to just everything I've taken in. And basically, schizophrenia is not so much one mental disorder as an umbrella term for a bunch of mental disorders clustered together into one major disorder. You have positive, negative, and cognitive symptoms. Positive symptoms are things that are added that should not be there. Those are hallucinations, delusions, and disorganized thinking. Secondly, are the negative symptoms. Those are things that should be there but aren't. So, apathy comes into play, loss of pleasure, depression, anxiety, rumination, thoughts. Then there's the cognitive features, which I found interesting because they're not talked about as much as the other two. Executive dysfunction is a major thing. That is where parts of your brain just misfire and misfire constantly. For me, for example, like I cannot remember for the life of me series of numbers, phone numbers, social security numbers, all bad, all not there. Uh, my thing of timing, I do not have an internal clock. I know a couple other people that just cannot figure out what time it is, but or cannot get that to correlate with their actions. It causes you to make everything a lot harder than it needs to be, and it's not really a choice in the matter. It's just your brain like, oh hey, we could go from point A to point B, but let's go along this long treacherous path and screw everything up to get there. That is this or executive dysfunction. So where are we? Um, yeah. So I mentioned that it's kind of the accumulation of a bunch of different disorders. They can range from depression, anxiety, disassociation, paranoia disorders, delusionary disorders, but they have to have psychotic episodes as well as delusional episodes to be considered schizophrenia. Otherwise, it would just be under bipolar, I believe. Maybe not. Um, yeah, so the mechanism I've learned is is in our frontal lobe. We have a lot less white matter or white brain matter than normal people do, and it makes our brains just wide open spaces where all these weird thoughts and all these weird delusions and perceptions can come into play. Basically, the whole thing with schizophrenia is it's a disorder with your perception of reality. Things you think are there are not there. Things you it's like that. It's I can't really describe it other than like your reality does not match what reality is. It's like glitches and like cuts from other films in one film strip. Anywho, um, it's a big thing in like the hallucinations, for example. Now, let me clarify: hallucinations range in severity. You can go from seeing flying spaghetti monsters in the sky to, oh hey, I'm looking for this thing that's right in front of my nose and I can't see it. I've literally had my mom pull out like something I was looking for from thin air. and it's like, no, it was there the entire time because there was a thing or dent in the carpet from it. It's like it was there, I just didn't see it. Other form, it comes from your brain wanting things to be there or not be there, and basically firing as it was there. Same thing with auditory hallucinations. Your brain wants those voices to be there because it thinks there should be something there because there's nothing there. It's like it's anxious and wants to make sure that it perceives something even when there's nothing. I forgot what the term was and I should have written it down. Oh well, back on track. Um, Schizophrenia is a combination of all those symptoms, but schizoaffective is when you take bipolar disorder, and tack it on there, and that makes for some interesting things. Usually, people with schizoaffective are a little bit better off than people with schizophrenia in terms of functioning. I personally think, although I have nothing to back this up, that the mood disorder helps counteract some of the negative symptoms as well as some of the positive symptoms in certain ways. I've had some of my psychotic breaks basically get busted from going cycling into a depressed mode, and I've had some of my manic episodes be curtailed by the apathy and lethargy of the negative symptoms. So I mean, it's a give and take. um, yeah, I wanted to make a couple more videos on my maybe some of my more delusion. Oh, I need to talk about insight. Insight is very important. Insight is very important for schizophrenic, schizoaffective. When you gain your insight, it's when you gain a grasp on how your disorder works with you, what your dysfunctions actually are, and how they manifest. Because you don't always see it. Case in point, the flat affect, the blunt affect. For the longest time, I did not realize I spoke mostly in deadpan. I did not realize I had such a just even tone. Even when in my brain I thought I was showing full range of emotional tones, and the fluctuation in that, no, didn't happen. So it would make sense now that looking back, like a lot of times I tried to crack jokes and everyone looked at me like I was serious, or every time I tried to, like just bare my soul to someone and they took it so matter of factly. Um, and mind you, it just doesn't affect me. It affects how I hear other people too. So there's a lot of times when people are talking to me, they're speaking monotone and kind of barely fluctuating their tone, and always sounds like they're just detached or disinterested. In the worst case scenario, they're kind of just gross, disgusted, like they don't want to talk to me. So that's the thing. When you realize, oh shit, this is how it affects me, you start to accept how your mental illness manifests, and then you start to actually accept it. When you have that insight, which not every schizophrenic has, actually, from most people, it's pretty rare. Um, Most people don't like to admit they have the disease, or they don't feel like it. That's the major thing that was going on with me. And I know it goes on with a lot of other people, that they feel like they're faking it. They're told that they're faking it. I had a voice in my head that sounded like my own voice telling me that all this stuff I was feeling was just anxiety and depression, and I was being over dramatic, and I needed to get over it and just, try harder to work with people when I couldn't work because I was just so dysfunctional. And it just kept putting me deeper and deeper into this hole of just self-hate, and I didn't realize that was, you know, my disease talking to me. I thought that was just how I felt. It's interesting when you realize like a lot of things you feel about yourself and the world around you are actually not you. It's a trip. Well, I'm gonna make a couple more videos, but I just wanted to give a brief overview. And hey, thank you for all the neurodivergents that have made videos, and thank you for all the ones that are going to continue. You guys are awesome, and we will help the world kind of understand